For this question, the first thing we need to be really careful of is the fact it's asking for perimeter and not the area. A lot of people get confused between perimeters and area. Area is the bit in the middle, so the blue bit, whereas the perimeter is all the edges added together. So all we need to do is add 7.4, 6.2, 4, 6.4, 11.4 and 12.6. So 12.6, now because I'm adding decimals, the key thing is that I make sure that all the decimal points are in line, so 11.4, 6.4. The 4 might pose a problem for some people. You can just write 4 or 4.0 if you prefer, it makes no difference. 6.2 and 7.4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. I haven't missed a side off and I haven't put one side in twice. So the key thing, make sure the decimal points are in line in the question and also in the answer box. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 4 is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 0 carried the 2. Here I'm just scanning through to see if I've got anything that adds to 10. So 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 7 is 17, 18, 19, 20, 26, 27, 28, carry the 2, 2, 3, 4. So the perimeter is 48.0, otherwise known as 48 metres. Calculate 17 to the power of 2, or 17 squared. So what this means is 17 multiplied by 17. So we're going to need long multiplication. So 17 and a 17. So what I'm going to do first of all is multiply 7 by 7, then 7 by 1. And then I'm going to repeat the process, but 1 times 7 and 1 times 1. So starting with the right hand digit here, the 7, 7 7s are 49, 9 carry 4, 7 times 1 is 7, plus the 4 is 11. Now before I tackle the 1s times 7 and the 1 times 1, I need to put in a 0 because this is the 1 of 17. So 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 1 is 1. So all I need to do is add together the top and the bottom, so just ignore that 4. In other words, 9 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 7 is 8, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So the answer is 289. In this question, we've been told that the ratio of red marbles to white marbles is 6 to 1. So I'm going to write red marbles, white, and that is 6 to 1. But I've got 42 red marbles, so that is significantly more than the 6. So how many times more than 6 is 42? 6 times what is 42, or what is 42 divided by 6? Well, the answer is 7. When you multiply 6 7 times, you get 42. So if we've got 7 times more reds, then for the ratio to work, we're going to need 7 times more whites, and 1 times 7 is 7. So the number of white marbles is simply 7. For this question, what we're doing is adding 2 decimals, and the most important thing is to make sure that you line the numbers up correctly, which shouldn't be an issue here because we have 2 numbers which are 4 digits long, and there's 2 digits either side of a decimal point, so there shouldn't be any issue getting them lined up correctly. But the most important thing when you're lining them up is make sure the decimal points are in line, because if they're in line, then everything else will fall into place. So, and we also need a decimal point in line in the answer box as well. So starting on the right hand side, 9 plus 3 is 12, so that's 2 carry the 1. 7 plus 4 is 11, plus 1 is 12, so that's 2 carry the 1. 8 plus the 1 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 3 carry the 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So the answer is 33.22. Here we need to calculate 46.8 divided by 100. Now, when you're dividing by 100, the decimal point moves 2 positions to the left. If you're not sure which direction it moves, just think, when you're dividing by 100, are you making the number bigger or smaller? If you're dividing, you're making it smaller. Well, if you're dividing by 100, you're definitely making it smaller, so therefore the decimal point is moving to the left. So the decimal point is here behind the 6, so if we move it 2 positions, it's going to be in front of the 4, so 0.468. Now some people will be quite comfortable with this and know that the answer is 0.468. If you're not sure about that, then just rewrite this number with a few zeros in front of it. because then it just makes it slightly easier to see where that decimal point ends up. It's going to be between a 0 and a 4. So the answer would be 0.468. And hopefully you can appreciate that we only need one 0 at the beginning, so we can get rid of the others, and therefore the answer is 0.468. Janice wants to put border strips around 3 sides of a square lawn, and the length of one side of the lawn is 14 metres. So we need to work out the cost of the total number of border strips, and the number of border strips is the total length that the border strips are going to cover divided by 3 times by 2. So if one length of the lawn is 14 metres, then the length around the 3 sides is 14 times by 3. And 14 multiplied by 3 will give me the total length in metres. But if we look, once we've got the total length in metres, immediately we're going to be dividing it by 3. So what we will be doing is 14 multiplied by 3, and then we're to get the total length in metres, and then we're dividing it by 3. Well, what's the point in multiplying by 3 and then dividing by 3? Let's just keep it as 14, and then we're at this stage of the equation here, and then 14 multiplied by 2. Of course, if that's all confusing, then we can work out that if one side is 14, then 3 sides is 14 multiplied by 3. 4 3s are 12, 2 carry the 1, 1 3 is 3, plus 1 is 42. So the total length in metres around the garden is 42 metres. We need to divide that by 3. 42 divided by 3 is 14, because 14 times 3 is 42. Hopefully now that makes sense why I'm saying the times by 3 and divide by 3 cancels each other out. And now we just need to multiply 14 by 2, and 2 14s are, well, 2 4s are 8, 2 1s are 2, so that is 28. So therefore Janice needs 28 border strips. So the calculation, if we were doing it exactly, would be 28 multiplied by £9.89. But we want an estimate, so why don't we call £9.89, let's just call that £10. So it's 28 times by 10, which is 280. But of course you could have always estimated that 28, you could have called it 30. So 30 times £10, which would be 300, and either of these answers is perfectly acceptable. For this question, we know that for each fence panel you need 300 millilitres of paint. Janice buys 2 tins, 1 tin is 1.5 litres. So if 1 tin is 1.5 litres, then 2 tins is going to be double that, which is 3 litres. The only problem here is the amount of paint is in litres, but the amount of paint needed for each fence panel is in millilitres. So since we've got a discrepancy in the units, either we need to convert this 300 millilitres into litres, or the 3 litres into millilitres. It's a lot easier converting litres into millilitres because it involves multiplying, whereas here we'd need to do some division. Now remember that 1 litre is 1000 millilitres, so 3 litres is simply 3000 millilitres. So if one fence panel needs 300 millilitres of paint, how many 300s go into 3000? Well, what do you multiply 300 by to take it to 3000? Well, 300 multiplied by 10 is 3000. So therefore, Janice can paint 10 fence panels before she runs out of paint. So for this question, we know that every box on this grid represents 20 centimetres in real life. So what we need to do is count the number of boxes across and the number of boxes down. So across is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. And down is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if each box represents 20 centimetres, then this measurement here is going to be 11 multiplied by 20. 11 multiplied by 2 is 22. So 11 multiplied by 20 is 220. So this is 220 centimetres. And for the distance across the top, that is going to be 5.5 multiplied by 20. Now, probably the easiest thing to do is work out what 5 times by 20 is. 5 20s, that's nice and easy. 5 times 2 is 10, so 5 times 20 is 100. And 0.5 is a half. So what is a half of 20? Well, a half of 20 or 0.5 times 20 is 10. So if 5 times 20 is 100 and half of 20 is 10, then 5.5 times 20 is 110. So the actual measurements of the table are 110 centimetres by 220 centimetres. So for this question, the bedroom's rectangular and has an area of 30 metres squared. We know the width is 4. Now the formula for the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. So something, which we'll call x, multiplied by 4 equals 30. I hope I haven't made it too confusing by putting in the letter x. Maybe I should just change it to just literally the word something. So something times by 4 is 30. So therefore something is going to be 30 divided by 4. So what is 30 divided by 4? Now the only problem is that 30 is not in the 4 times table. I'm going to do some bus stop division here, although it might seem a little bit pointless to begin with. So how many 4s go into 3? Well, what is 3 divided by 4? How many 4s go into 3? It's the same thing. 3 divided by 4 doesn't go. So I'm going to put a 0 and carry the 3 across. How many 4s go into 30? If you're not sure, you might need to write out your 4 times table. But 4 times 7 is 28, and 4 multiplied by 8 is 32, which is too much. So we know that if I divide 30 by 4, I'm going to get 7 with 2 left over. Now, when you're at primary school, you'd probably write this as 7 remainder 2. But we can't really say that the length is 7 remainder 2 by 4. So what do we do with that remainder? Now usually when this happens, we carry the remainder across and park it on the number that's to the right inside the bus stop, but we've run out of numbers here. So what do? What we do is we put in a decimal point top and bottom, we add a 0 because 30 is the same as 30.0, and that remainder of 2 I can park onto that 0 to create a 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5 with no remainder, so there's our answer. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5, so 7.5 metres. For this question, the first thing we need to do is to work out how many balls there are in total. There's 6 red, 6 yellow and 6 blue, so the total number of balls is 18. And you are allowed to use a calculator now, although 6 times 3 should be fairly straightforward. So what's the probability of picking out a blue? Well, there are 6 blue, so that is 6 out of 18. Depending on, I wouldn't imagine a calculator is going to be a great help here, because with the on-screen calculator it won't simplify a fraction for you. However, what we need to do is break this fraction down so it's expressed in its simplest form. So hopefully we've noticed that we've got an even number top and bottom. So that means we can divide the top and the bottom by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we've just halved the top and half the bottom. So 6/18 is the same as 3/9. And now I've got two numbers that are in the 3 times table. So if I divide both the top and the bottom by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So the probability of picking out a blue ball is 1/3. So for this question we need to convert a fraction to a percentage. Now the formula is very simple. It's the top divided by the bottom multiplied by 100. So grab your calculator. 5 divided by 8. If you hit the equals button now, you'll get the decimal, which is 0.625. That's obviously not the percentage because that's far too low. So multiply that one by 100 and you get 62.5%. Of course, it's possible just to simply type into the calculator 5 divided by 8 multiplied by 100 and then hit the equal sign. You don't need to do 5 divided by 8 equals and then multiply that answer by 100. I mean, you can if you want to, but you can do it all in one go. Anyway, the answer is 62.5%. Given that we can use a calculator, this question is relatively straightforward. So on the calculator, type in 2.5. Press the divide button and then 0.375 and hit equals and you get the answer 6.666. This digit will recur forever. Now we need to give the answer to 2 decimal places. So therefore we need to look at the value of the third decimal place. Anything beyond that, completely irrelevant, ignore them, delete them. So this number here, if it's 5 or more, then the number to the left will round up 1. Now 6 is of course greater than 5, so that means that this digit here will move up 1, so that will become 6.67. So this is a relatively complicated question. The key thing is that Jared is cooking for 72 and he's got a recipe for 12. So he's going to need to scale this recipe up a certain number of times. Obviously, if it was 24 people, he would just be doubling everything. If it was 36, he'd be tripling it. So how many 12s go into 72? So what we need to do is divide 72 by 12 and we get 6. So he needs this recipe 6 times over. So how much flour will that be that he needs if he's multiplying this whole recipe by 6? So 400 multiplied by 6, that is 2,400 grams. But he's got 2 3/4 kilos. Now this is a bit of an issue because, well, for two reasons. One, it's a mixed number with a fraction, and here we've got grams, here we've got kilograms. Now 2 3/4, hopefully you know that as a decimal, 3/4 is 0.75 or 0.75. So therefore 2 3/4 is 2.75, and that is kilos. Now 1 kilo is 1,000 grams. So if I multiply the kilo number by 1,000, I can convert it into grams, and 2.75 multiplied by 1,000 is 2,750 grams. So this is the amount of flour that Jared has. This is the amount that he needs. So the amount he has left over once he's used the 2,400 grams is the difference between these two amounts. 2,750 take away 2,400 is 350 grams. Jared wants to bake 6 loaves of bread, and we're told that one loaf of bread takes 7 minutes to prepare. So if one loaf takes 7 minutes to prepare, then how long will it take to prepare 6 loaves of bread? So that's 42 minutes, 6 times 7, and that's the preparation time. The loaves will take 45 minutes to bake, and they're all going in the oven at the same time, and 10 minutes for them to cool down. Again, they're all going to cool at the same time. So the amount of time from start to finish is simply going to be 42 plus the 45 plus the 10, and that's a total of 97 minutes. And they need to be cooled by 6:15 in the morning, so therefore we need to subtract 97 minutes from this time. Now that's going to be quite tricky. So what I suggest we do is to turn it into hours and minutes. Now 90 minutes is 1 hour 30. So 97 is 1 hour and 37 minutes. So we need to subtract 137 from 6:15. Now don't be fooled into thinking you can just do 6.15 minus 1.37. I wonder what the answer is if you do that anyway. You might get a ridiculous answer, 4.78. Well, yeah, clearly that's a wrong answer because he can't start baking at 4.78. That's not a time. Your calculator doesn't know that we're doing times, so it's working in the decimal system, which goes up to 100, and unfortunately with time we're only going up in 60s. So the easiest thing, first of all, is that if I just get rid of that 1 hour, 6:15 minus 1 hour is 5:15 in the morning, and we need to subtract 37 minutes from this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the 37 into two numbers, one of which is the 15. 37 take away 15 is 22. So 5:15 minus 37 minutes is the same as 5:15 take away 15 minutes, and then take away another 22 minutes, because minus 15 minus 22 is minus 37, or 15 plus 22 is 37. Hopefully you can understand my logic here and why I'm doing this, because 5:15 take away 15, well, that takes me to 5 a.m. Now I need to subtract 20 minutes from 5 a.m. Well, if I take off the 20 minutes first of all, that will take me to 4:40, and then if I take away the 2 from that, that will be 4:38. So he needs to start exactly 4:38. So for this question, we know that Jared is buying 20 candles and they're 13 pence each. So 20 times 13 is 260 pence, otherwise known as £2.60. He's buying icing at £1.40 per packet and he needs 2 packs, so 2 times 140 is £2.80. And he needs 15 letters, so 15 times 56 is 840, so £8.40. So the total should be £8.40 plus £2.80 plus £2.60, which is £13.80. I say should be because obviously he's going to use his 15% discount card. Now, to calculate 15% of an amount using a calculator, you are going to use the multiplier 0.15. So what we need to do is multiply 1380 by 0.15, and that comes to a total of £2.07. Now this is his discount, that's not how much he pays. He gets 15% off, so he gets £2.07 off. So all we need to do now is subtract £2.07 from the 13.80, and we get a grand total of £11.73. From the previous question, we know that the total comes to £13.80p, and it's a 15% discount. So how can we estimate 15% of this rather unusual figure here? Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just call this £14? What is 15% of this amount? Well, 10% is a tenth of this amount, so divide £14 by 10, and that is £1.40. So if 10% is £1.40, then 5% is, well, £1.40, that's 140 pence. Half of 140 is 70, so 70p, or otherwise known as £0.70p. So therefore 15% of £14, which is our estimation for 13.80, is simply these two amounts put together, and that comes to £2.10. So £2.10 is approximately 15% of £13.80, and it's exactly 15% of £14. Right, 190,493 in numbers. Well, the key thing with questions like this is understanding how numbers are written, obviously. So when we have, going from right to left, we have 3 numbers, and then here we would say the word 1,000. Then we would have potentially another 3 numbers, and before this we would say million, and then another 3 numbers, and here we would say billion. So what we've got here is 190,493. I would start over here. So this is 493, and here we just need to write 190 in front of this gap here, which represents where we would say 1,000. So always chunk your numbers into blocks of 3 going from right to left, and remember that after every 3 you need to insert a number, a word, 1,000, million, billion, and as long as you can write down and read a 3-digit number, then everything is absolutely fine. So the answer is therefore 190,493. Some people put a comma between where the word 1,000 will be represented. Some people would leave a gap. Obviously, if you're just typing it in on a keyboard, just type the numbers in one after another and you'll be fine. So for this question, which bank offers the highest interest rate? Well, they're all 4 point something. Now the complicated thing, I suppose, is the fact that there are decimals of different lengths. But first of all, let's just look at the first decimal place. We've got a 7, a 0, or 7 is bigger than 0, so we can forget bank B. We've got a 7, we've got a 6 here, so it doesn't matter what comes after. 6 is less than 7, so we're eliminating bank D. It doesn't matter whether it's got 3 decimal places or 25 million decimal places. This one here is a 6, whereas this is a 7. So bank D has a lower interest rate than A, and we've also got a 7 here. So let's put them in. Let's just write them down. We've got 4.72, 4.726, and 4.76. So what we need to do is, we know that in the units column we've got 444. In the tenths column it's 777. So let's look at the next column, which is the hundredths. We've got a 2, and a 6. 6 is bigger than 2, so this is the greatest of these three numbers. Again, it really doesn't matter how many decimal places this number has. If you want to make them all the same, then if that makes you feel better, then just add in a 0. But here we don't need to do that. 6 is bigger than 2. 6 is bigger than 2. So 4.76 is bigger than 4.726, and 4.76 is bigger than 4.72. So therefore, Bank E offers the highest interest rate. For this question, what I'm going to do is use some tally marks for all of these values here. So 42, tally mark there, that's gone. 33 is between 30 and 39. 28 goes here. I'll do them in twos now. 19 and 35. So 19, 35. 41 and 36. 41, 36. 38, 31. 38, and the 31 will create a fifth one, so I'll do a diagonal ones because I'm going to clump these together in blocks of 5 because then they're easier to add up. 29, 27, both in this group here. 44 and 40. 28. 39 and 14. Okay, so the frequency of 0 to 9 is 0. 10 to 19 is 2, 20 to 29 is 4, 30 to 39 is 5 plus 1, which is 6, and 40 to 49 is 4. So the important thing for this question is this statement here, which is the goal difference is the number of goals for minus the number of goals against. That gives us the goal difference. So 2 minus something gives us -1. If you need to, you can do a little number line. So just think 0, 1, 2, -1, -2, -3. So this number here, minus something, takes me to -1. So that, how many steps am I going backwards? Well, it's 1, 2, 3. So goals against 3. 2 take away 3 is -1. Here we know that the goal, well, we don't know the goals for, but we know they've goals against is 3. So something -3 is 0. What take away 3 is 0? Well, the answer is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. That was almost so easy it was nearly hard. For this one here, 1 take away something is -3. Again, let's look at the number line starting at 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 4 against. 1 take away 4 is -3. This one's a bit easier. 1 take away 3. So here I am at 1. If I subtract 3, 1, 2, 3, that takes me to -2. So the totals, well, 2 plus 3 is 5, 6, 7. Goals against is 3 plus 3, which is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Now, I wouldn't, you could add up the negative numbers, but it's probably easier just thinking, well, what is 7 take away 13? Well, with these ones, hopefully it's obvious that the answer is going to be negative because 13 is bigger than 7. If you're subtracting a number that is larger than what you're starting with, you're going to get a negative answer. So what I do, I flip this round. Well, what is 13 take away 7? 13 take away 7 is 6. So therefore 7 take away 13 is -6. And that is the missing answer in that final box there. For this question, we just need a basic understanding of the probability scale, which goes from 0, which is completely impossible, to 1, which is 100% certain. So 0.88, that's much closer to certain than impossible, but it's relatively close to certain, so it's definitely not unlikely. Unlikely would be somewhere down here on the scale. Again, it's hard to put an exact number on it, but maybe between 0 to, let's say, 0.2 might be unlikely, or maybe even a bit higher than 0.2. Certainly nowhere near 0.88. 0.88 is not far off 100%, I suppose. But I would say 0.88, I would call that likely. It's definitely not unlikely. So Ryan is not correct because 0.88 is likely. This question is slightly ambiguous, but the first thing we need to do is work out what the perimeter of the pitch is. So it's 18 plus 36 plus 18 plus 36 is 108 meters. and we are going for 1 kilometre. So how many 108s go into 1 kilometre, which we're going to need to convert into metres, but that should be easy enough. A kilometre is 1,000 metres, so 1,000 divided by 108, and that gives us 9.25. Now this is where it is a bit ambiguous for me, because the word does say at least 1 kilometre, but I don't really know why, if the words at least really help in any way. I think to run exactly 1 kilometre, you do 9 full laps and a bit more. But so for me, the correct answer would be 9 full laps. However, I think what they're doing here is assuming that you're going to keep going and finish this lap which you've not completed, and then you have run more than 1 kilometre, which is why they put the words at least, which is why the answer says you are going to do 10 laps. But for me, the answer should be 9, not 10. As I said, slightly dodgy question. So in this question, we're told that 35% are for children and 20% are for senior citizens. So if we combine the 35 and the 20, that is 55%. So 55% is for non-adults. So the remainder are for adults, which is 45%. So what we need to do here is work out, well, what is 45% of 380? So the calculation is 380 multiplied by 0.45, and 0.45 is 171. So Ryan is not correct because he's calculated 176 when the answer should be 171. If you don't understand the 0.45, there are other ways which are basically the same as doing what I've just done. You might do perhaps 380 multiplied by 45 divided by 100, or 45 divided by 100 times by 380. It's all the same thing, but 45 divided by 100 is your 0.45. Either way, you should get the answer of 171. So Ryan is incorrect. For this question, we've been told that the football club's donating £2.94 for each ticket that's been sold. So if they've sold 380, therefore we need to multiply £2.94 by 380. So therefore the donations is £1,117.20. So the money left is simply this taken away from what Ryan has collected. So the calculation is 3697.4 minus the 111720. So therefore the money left is £2,580.20p. Okay, so what we need to do is draw a bar chart for this information. So what we need to do is make sure we have the months along the bottom. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 6 months. So what that means is I was hoping perhaps to put a gap between January and February, and then a gap between February and March, a gap between March and April, but I'm not going to have enough space, so I'm just going to put them side by side. So January, February, March, April, May, June, which means that this part over here is just going to be wasted, which makes me a little bit sad really, because it doesn't look very good. Ideally you use the graph paper as fully as you can. So we should perhaps have a title underneath. I'm running out of space, which is month, although that should be fairly obvious given that, well, unless you've just written the letters J, F, M, A, M, J, maybe you could write Jan, Feb, Mar, in which case it would be a bit more obvious, but maybe for the avoidance of any doubt, write month. Now up the side we're going to have the number of laptops sold. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes. So if we go up in tens, that'd be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Well, that's not enough. You could use something awkward, like you could maybe if you, well, so first of all, let's just think, what are we aiming for? 172. We need to go slightly above 172. Maybe if we went up in 15s, that would work, but that's not a good idea, because, well, if this line here is 15, then, well, if you needed to do 9, then, well, it's hard to know exactly where that would be. So let's just go 20. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. That seems a bit more sensible. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. 172 is our highest, so there's a little bit of wastage at the top here, but nothing too extreme. And I'm going to put here number of laptops sold. Okay, so January goes up to 28. So 20 is here, 30 is halfway between. So it's very difficult to say exactly where 28 is going to be, particularly if I'm just drawing it on a graphics tablet, but just above that line. And there we go. And we can shade that in if we want. February is 144. So if the distance between 140 and 160 is 20, then what that means is each square means we're going up in 4. So actually 144 is quite a good one because it's exactly on this line here. Ideally you would use a ruler, although that's not a bad effort on a graphics tablet. There we go. So there's my February. March is 82. So if this is 80, this is 84. It's halfway between. Again, it's kind of hard to be really accurate. There's my March. April is 126. So 120, 124, 126 is going to be in between. Again, I don't think the examiners will be too stressed if you accidentally put that on the line below or the line above. May is going to be 94, so here is 80, so 90 is halfway in between, so 94 is somewhere halfway between these two lines. Oops, that's a little bit on the low side there, but not by much, and I don't think anyone's going to notice. And for June, 172 is 160, 170 is here, 172 is halfway between where I've got my dot now and the line. So, well, again, it's hard to be that accurate. And there we go. There is my completed bar chart. So for this question, we need to just select the best net for this box. If you think of a box, it's got a top and a bottom. It's got a left-hand side and a right-hand side and a front and a back. So it's got 6 faces. So we can eliminate net C because it's only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and same with net D. So net C and net D, they'd be boxes but without a lid, or a box without a base. So we're looking at net A versus net B, and we can clearly see that because this is a cuboid which is not very tall, that net A would be preferable. Actually, they've even given us the dimensions here, 4 by 4 by 4. That tells us it's not a great drawing, but this would be the net of a cube. This would be a cube if all the dimensions are the same, whereas this is the net of a cuboid because we have different dimensions. For this question, what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to work out the volume of the box that the bracelet fits into. So the volume is going to be 10 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 3, so that is 240, and that's cubic centimetres. So what is the volume of box A? Well, that is 50 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 12, and that is 4,800 cubic centimetres. And box B is 50 multiplied by 16 multiplied by 15, which is 120,000 cubic centimetres. So all we need to do now is work out, well, if Devinder's got 100 bracelets, therefore we need 100 boxes. So how many box A's do we need, given that it has a capacity of 4,800? So what we need to do is work out, well, how many small boxes can we get into box A? And how many 240s go into 4,800? Well, that's 4,800 divided by 240, which is 20. So 20 small boxes fit in here. So if we've got 100 small boxes for the 100 bracelets, therefore we need 5 lots of box A, because 5 20s are 100. Now we're going to do the same thing here, which is how many 240s go into 12,000. So 12,000 divided by 240, which is 50. So we can fit 50 bracelet boxes into box B, but if we need 100, then we'll need 2 box Bs. So box A costs 70p, 5 times by 70p, that's £3.50 for the box A option. Box B is £1.80. If we need 2, then that means it's £3.60. So therefore box A is 10p cheaper than box B, so that's what Devinder should go for. So for this question, the best selling jewellery item is the jewellery item that has the highest mean. Now we know the mean for necklaces, rings and earrings, but we don't know the mean for bracelets. So the mean number of bracelets sold per month is the total number of bracelets sold divided by the number of months. And we can get that from this table here. So here we've got 6 months. Over a 6-month period, they sold 23 plus 22 plus 38 plus 28 plus 44 plus 97 bracelets. So in total, 252 bracelets. So that's the total. So the mean per month is the total divided by the number of months, and we can see there's 6 months. So 252 divided by 6 is 42. So we can see clearly from the data that necklaces had the highest average or the highest mean. So therefore, necklaces is the best selling jewellery item. The jewellery item that sells the most consistently is the one with the smallest range. Now we don't know the range for the bracelets. The calculation for range is the biggest take away the smallest value. So the smallest is 22, the greatest is 97, so the range is 97 take away 22, which is 75. As I said before, the most consistent is the one with the smallest range, and 62 is the smallest of these 4 numbers. So rings is the one that sold the most consistently because it had the smallest difference between its smallest and largest value. So Devinder makes a profit of this figure here, and she uses a third to buy more stock, so the remainder goes into a savings account. Well, 2 ways you could do this. If you know that she's used 1/3 to buy more stock, then the remainder is 2/3. So what is 2/3 of 1,592? Alternatively, you could just work out what 1/3 of this amount is and take it off that amount. So the first method I mentioned is working out 2/3 of this amount. So 1592 multiplied by 2 divided by 3, and that comes to a total of £1,061 and 33.3p recurring, which we'll just call that 1061.33. A lot of people do struggle with fractions of amounts, so maybe it's easier to work out what 1/3 of this amount is. So what is 1/3 of 1592? That's 1592 divided by 3, and that is 530.66. Well, it's a recurring digit, so 6 will go on forever. So all you need to do, if this is the amount that she's reinvested, then the rest that's going to a savings account is the 1592, subtract that figure there. So 1592 take away 530. Now it's up to you how many 6s you put in. I just put in a handful of 6s, 5 or 6 will do, and I get the answer 1061, and my calculator says it's got 5 3s and a 4, and that's because I typed in 6 6s, but hopefully you can see that that is going to be a recurring 3, but again it's the same answer, £1,061 and 33p.